right, guys, there's a part two because I couldn't quite cover everything into one and we were already at 8 minutes. So here we are in part two. In this section, we are going to talk about this crazy looking chart, okay, and we'll talk about the labels in particular, all right? When we're done with that, we will talk about these lists. In the vocab section, it's listed off in this way. So we'll talk about this arrangement of verbs and what the heck is going on with these four things. First things first, this chart. You're going to notice on the left-hand side, it's labeled first, second, and third. Thankfully, that's pretty logical because this is the first line, the second line, and the third line, right? Okay, there's more to it than that. We then have singular and plural. That's grammatical number, and yes, that does apply to Latin verbs. But we're going to talk about first, second, and third. First person means you're speaking about your own self, right? If this person right here is speaking about their own self, which pronoun are they going to use to refer to their own self? If you thought I, you're correct. Okay. First singular is I. And this is because I am the first closest person to myself. There's no one closer to me than, well, me. Okay? All right. And if there's numerous of me and another person, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself as well as the person with whom I am standing or including, I'm going to call us we, right? So if I'm just by myself, if I'm with my wife and child, for example, I'm going to say we. Yeah? Okay. So I versus we, that's singular and plural. Stay with me here. You is going to be second person. I'll go into why that's second person in just a bit once we get to third person. Notice how we have you, and then over here we had you versus y'all, that's singular versus plural. Here we have I versus we, so singular, plural, right? So we're just transferring that same data set over here. So you versus y'all. Your textbook probably is more proper and says you plural. I feel like y'all is a great pronoun to use. I know it's non-standard, but it gets the point across. Last but not least, we have he. Okay, if I'm talking about one male person over there, he. It's she. We're talking about one female person over there. And then, if I'm talking about one inanimate object, it's going to be it, right? Now, if I'm talking about multiple, regardless of gender, regardless of animate or inanimate in English, all of those get reduced to one pronoun. If it's plural, I always say, right, there are numerous men over there, they, right? There are numerous ladies over there, they, right? Mixed gender group, they. Animate and inanimate, they, right? It all just becomes they. So why in the heck is this kind third person and this kind second person? Well, here's the deal. It has to do with the proximity of the subject to the thing being spoken about, right? So if I say, I tell you about them, okay, this is a conversation between you and I about those people over there. Who's closest to me? You or them? Right? In terms of our conversation dynamic, it's just about you and me right now. Those people over there are outside of our conversation, right? Okay, and so that's what's going on here. We're talking about second person. If there is a second person in this discussion, that's going to be you, because if I'm talking to you about something else, I'm not talking to that thing or person about you. No, I'm talking to you about them, right? And then third person, again, that's the farthest removed from me. So there you have it. First person, second person, and third person, singular and plural. First person pronouns are I in the singular, we in the plural. Second person pronouns are you in the singular, y'all in the plural. Finally, third person pronouns are he, she, or it in singular and they in the plural. We'll learn the Latin ones in just a little bit, but just know person and number for now. Okay, now what about this? We've got in our vocab section verbs listed off in 4 different forms. What the heck is going on here? As far as chapter 2 is concerned, they're going to let you just gloss over these 2 because you don't need to know those just yet. But they do want you to know what's called the first principal part and the second principal part. Yes, this is the third and the fourth. Don't worry about third and fourth for now. The first principal part, does that look familiar to this over here? Okay. The first principal part is which form? Amo, I love, right? What about the second principal part? We had a special name for this kind of form that ends with ARE or ERE. If you guessed infinitive, you're right? I labeled that up here, infinitive and infinitive. It's the unchanged form. It hasn't gotten the endings added to it just yet. So the unconjugated form or the infinitive form, that's your second principal part, all right? Since I've already shown you how the process of conjugating verbs works, right, taking off the RE, adding those 6 endings, you now are familiar with these 2 forms, okay? So that's a little bit more concrete. Hopefully that helps you guys understand.